I'm just kidding. All right, well, I am live. I can see my face. Hopefully, you can see my face. Got the Facebook pulled up, so I know I'm there. Hopefully, this time it'll let me see the whole stream. Last time it kind of cut off in the middle, which is weird for me. I mean, it kept going. Apparently, you guys could all see me. But yeah, anyway, we're here. So we'll jump in. You know the drill. You know how it goes. We'll sit here for a little bit and chitter chatter, back and forth, maybe 5, 10 minutes, something like that, while we wait for the eyeball to increase in number. I see a little eyeball on the Facebook thing. You may be watching over here from the tube. I think Twitter. I might be on Twitter, live streaming to Twitter. Instagram never works. Just, Facebook being Facebook, or Meta, I guess, being Meta. Can't figure that one out. But I'm mainly on the group. So if you are watching on any of those other places, or if you're watching on my professional, my author Facebook page, you're not in the wrong spot, but you're not in the best spot. The bestest, most coolest spot is the Facebook group, Book Career in a Year. And the reason that's the best spot is that I'm here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm in all those places. The reason it's the best spot is that I can see myself on that in that group, and I can see comments as they come in. So I'm kind of keeping live with that one. So if you're leaving comments on YouTube, thank you. That's great. You're totally more than welcome to do that. But if you want to engage with each live stream as it's happening, best place is to jump over on the Facebook group. If you're not in the Facebook group, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm just kidding. Get in there. It's great. If you're not a Facebook person, I understand. It's just branding. That's where social media, that's where my readers are. And so Facebook has become sort of my hub, my home base. I see a few of you here. Lou, what's up, man? Welcome in. You were right on time. Prompt as can be. I expected nothing less. I'll get to see you in person in a couple weeks coming up. I'll send an email about that today. Not to be so secretive, but there's a writer's retreat that I'm putting on. And look, check it out. You can see I got my swag bag. Look at this. It's called the Write Repeat Workshop. See that? Look at that. Whoa. So fancy. And it's got a little tote bag. It's a good size. There's some secret goodies in there. I'll show off one of them. The Write Retreat official, this is a blank notebook, but it's the official notebook of the empire building and life changing retreat that is Write Retreat. First one I've ever done, so we'll see how it goes. Probably all gonna end up sleeping outside when in a sleeping bag. It's gonna be 30 degrees at night, and everyone's gonna get eaten by a bear. No, I'm just kidding. I think we'll be all right. It's a cool place. We got an Airbnb. It is very nice, in my opinion, and it's a cozy kind of affair. It's gonna intimate and intense is kind of the goal for this thing. It is writing retreat, but it's also an intensive workshop. So I have 2 other professional teachers and coaches coming and dropping the wisdom bombs on everyone there. It's going to be really cool. I've got my wife's good friend who owns a bakery providing our breakfasts every morning. Lou, no, it's not going to be it's oh my God. I see what you did there. Yeah, the old joke, like sex in sex when you're camping. It's intense. Okay, anyway, yeah, no, we're not going to be intense. It's going to be intense, but it'll be in a house. All y'all saying FOMO, Robin, yep, Rose wanted to go maybe next time. Hey, there's going to be a next time. I had one guy who had to cancel last minute, and a good friend of mine, he might be on the call here in a little bit. Unfortunate, but he get a great job opportunity, and they have a meeting over that weekend, so he couldn't make it. But it was past the deadline, at which point I could no longer give a refund because I had to pay out everything to get the Airbnb and the food organized, all that stuff. So I felt really bad, and I was like, look, I don't know, maybe we can do something where you can come in next time. And he was like, yeah, we'll figure this out. I'm definitely going to come next time. So he has convinced me to do a next time. So the good news is we're doing a next time. We haven't even done the first time, but we're doing it next time. I'll talk about this a little bit today, but part of my planning the next little bit is going to be working on what that next time looks like. I've got a mind map of all the different pieces of the retreat and the brand that is Write Retreat, Write Repeat. And part of that is going to different places. So we'll definitely do a Colorado Springs, but I'd like to go to Austin. I'd like to go to Florida. I'd like to go to Nashville. I don't ever want to go to California, but we'll probably have to go there too, just for some people on that side of the world. But the whole point of this is people live in different places, and how cool would it be to have this sort of this event happening 3-4 times a year in different places? So that's my goal. That's what we want to do. We'll see if we get there, but yeah, look up those flights, Robin. It's flights aren't great right now, especially international. But if you wait a little bit, I'm sure they'll probably go down. Southwest Airlines flies into Colorado Springs now, so if it is, we're doing a Black Forest, which is just north of Colorado Springs. But I recommend that airport because it's much cheaper, much easier to get in and out of than Denver. Jess, welcome. Yeah, do Oregon instead of... Ooh, that's a good idea. I love Oregon. We should do that. We'll do Oregon instead of California. Thank you. I don't have to go to California. Nothing against California, just everything against California. Sorry, Joan, if you're here from Bakersfield. I guess if you had to be in California, Bakersfield's the place to be, huh? Okie dokie. Let's see. We got people in here. We have some eyeballs. We have... Oh, look at that. The little title came through. Your next 5 moves live with Book Career in a Year. That's me. I got Book Career Blue on, and that means we are ready to roll. Almost. Waiting on a couple more, but why don't you drop... Jones, I am. Why don't you drop in the comments, if you haven't already, where you're coming in from. I know some of the usual folk up here. Robin is in the cold white north, up in, I'm guessing the North Pole. Joan is probably Bakersfield. Lynn, Salt Lake City. You just said Salt Lake City is easy to get to. That would be a great place to do it. Are you in Salt Lake City, Lynn? Who knows? Drop in the comment if you're in the Facebook group. I can read that. Drop it anywhere you're seeing me. That's great too. The engagement is helpful. Of course, all these platforms. But yeah, let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to connect. Rose, Evergreen State. What is that? Is that North Carolina? I don't even know. I've never heard of the Evergreen State. I'm sure I've heard of the state. Maybe. William, welcome in from Seattle. Not as much a fan of Seattle as I am Portland. But I've only had one experience in Seattle. I liked all the islands. We were in Vashon Island. Sarah Henderson, Iowa, the cool part. I don't know which part of Iowa. Is that Ohio? Is that what you mean? No, I'm just kidding. My family's all from Iowa. I love Iowa. We get up there not as often as I'd wish, but it's a good state. I saw it's Asheville. It's gone now. Rose, Washington. Oh, okay. That's the Evergreens. That makes sense. David Thatcher Wilson, Fort Lauderdale. Robin's in the Bermuda time zone. Yeah, not as close to Bermuda, though. Moved here from Maui. William, yep. I was in, we have a house in Big Island. Marion, yeah, Frankfurt, Germany. Nice. Very international group we have today. What's up, Gentry? Where are you at these days? This guy's a world traveler. He's always hopping around somewhere. I'm always seeing his Facebook posts is like a flight, like from here all the way. It shows a little thing. He's probably in the moon or something, doing some work for Leica. Des Moines, yeah, Des Moines is a good place. My parents are from Boone and Ames, so we got around Des Moines area. Okie dokie. Welcome in. If you are new here, this is my face. This is what you're gonna see for an hour. Hope you like it. This is my voice, and what we're talking about today is your next 5 moves. Now, that's vague and nebulous for a reason, because I wanted to kind of leave this open enough to be able to get into some good, detailed tangents. All right. And of course, I can see questions coming up. So if you're in the Facebook group with me, pop those in there as I'm talking. And if I forget to do it while I'm going, if I forget to answer your question while I'm going, drop it, re-up, basically, like write the question again toward the end at the 45-minute mark or so. I'll kind of roll into some questions. But what I want to, the reason this is important to me, and I'll explain what it is as we kind of get into it. But the reason this topic is important to me is I suffer from a disease called overplanning. I'm not good at planning. I just really like to do it. Okay. I really, really love planners and notebooks. I mean, I'm like literally pointing to all the like the pile of planners and notebooks. I've got things laying around here. I got another one. This is the let's make a mess here. The high performance planner. Like I've got all this crap, and that's what it is on my desk at all times. And I'm like, oh look, I got special pens. The point is, I love the act and the process of planning, but the problem is, I love the act and the process of planning. And what happens is I end up getting so far lost in the act and the process of planning that I don't actually have a good grasp on what I've just planned. And what that translates to is I don't have a very great plan to execute what I've just spent time and energy doing. Okay. I love nothing more than to head up to my local brewery. I've written probably 10 books sitting in the same chair over the last 5 years. And just sitting down with my fancy pens and a planner or even just a notebook and just going offline, throw the headphones in, grabbing a beer and going to town with just dreaming and planning and all that. And that is not a bad activity. There's nothing inherently bad about doing that. But I could do that all day. And then I could do it again the next day and the next day. And I know I'm talking to you. I know you're resonating with me because I know you've got something like that, whether it's research for writing or something that you could just jump into head first and never come up for air. And you would have a great plan, arguably, at the end of that process, if it ever ended. But the problem is, of course, you haven't done the work. You haven't done the things that are going to get you to the point where you can say, I've accomplished that plan that I spent so much time working on. Is that fair? For me, again, going back to just because I'm speaking to myself here, I always want to bring you wisdom that I'm trying to learn myself, right? The reason I'm harping on this is that we can't not do that. We can't not plan, okay? Because I've tried that as well. Let me just tell a little quick story, but to kind of explain this. But, when I got started doing this over a decade ago, probably not fair. I should say maybe 6 years ago, I started doing this because full time. Now, all of a sudden, I had no boss. I had no one telling me, here's the output we require. Here are the deliverables and even the deadlines that we need those deliverables. All of a sudden, I was thrust into having to do that myself. Now, I just said, I love doing that. I love that process. I love the ability, the freedom, I should say, to go and escape somewhere, maybe drive into the country, go sit in a hammock and plan. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's all I was doing at first. My first full-time day as an author was July 2nd, 2017. I don't know how many years ago. Is that 5 years ago? A little over 5 years ago? Maybe it was 2016. It was July 2nd because my last day at the church job that I had was July 1st. So July 2nd, I escaped into my new life. I drove to Santa Fe, New Mexico. That's about a 6-hour drive or so from my house, something like that. To meet up with a couple writer friends, some acquaintances I had known online. David Wood, you might know that name, was one of them. He lives down there. And so I was going to go do this kind of writing retreat thing idea. It was a very loosely organized. It was just, hey, come to the house. We'll drink beer. We'll hang out. We'll go out to eat. We'll plan. We'll do some co-writing stuff. And we'll just hang out. And I thought, this is my life. This is awesome. And a couple things happened at the same time. Now, David's a great guy. The people we were there with were great. There was nothing wrong with the people. There was nothing wrong with the idea. I didn't give myself a plan before doing this. I had no goal. This was all open-ended. This was just fun, okay? But I didn't treat it like fun. I treated it like, this is a writing expense. This is a writing excursion. This isn't a vacation. So I actually expected to get some work done. So right off the bat, I had an expectation that I wasn't going to be able to commit to. I didn't know this, though, at the time. It took years before I realized what had happened. But I started my writing career off on the wrong foot because I had no idea how to plan my next 5 moves. I went to this writing retreat, and so I mentioned a couple things happened at once. I discovered that I have chronic crippling anxiety, panic attacks, freaking out about money, about security, about what I'm going to do tomorrow, about if my kids are going to be helping me. Anything you can think of, I have that. And I say have. I'm not over that yet, but I've had to learn how to deal with it. Again, I might be speaking to you here, folks. There may be something about what I'm saying that resonates with you. That's the point. That's why I'm telling you this, and I'm not trying to get on a stage and be like, I know how to solve all the problems. I'm telling you what I dealt with because I'm telling you how I deal with it, and maybe you can use some of this stuff. You don't have to have anxiety to resonate with what I'm saying. The point is, we all discover things about ourselves as we move forward in our careers. And what I learned from this experience, this day one, literally, experience of my writing life, was that I need to have a very specific, actionable plan for the next 5 things that I'm going to do. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. And that's kind of a long introduction, but I'm hoping you can understand where I'm coming from, because I think it's gonna work a little bit better as we go through some of this stuff. So the 5 best things that we can be doing next, the next best moves, the 5 best moves, whatever you want to call it, aren't my idea necessarily, but it's just kind of a culmination of productivity advice. There's some psychology in this. There's some motivational speaking type guru stuff in here that I've just, over the years have just kind of filtered through my own experiences and come up with my own. Sorry, I probably have a giant bug sitting in my face. Anyway, and these are the things. This is sort of the way I distilled all of this stuff down in a way that works for me. So this is what I do. This is what I try to do, and I certainly am tweaking it as we go, as I go, and I'm certainly working on it, trying to make it more efficient, more effective. But this is how I do it. This is how I stay productive, and I don't mean. I know I've done a productivity episode of a live stream. Highly recommend watching that because that's some good energy building type stuff that we talked about. I still do that stuff every day, but that's more day-to-day productivity. How do I wake up tomorrow and feel energized enough to get the things done that I want to get done? That's productivity. Your next 5 moves is more productivity in the long run by looking at short-term, meaning like 3, 6, 9-month goals. So it's productivity, sure, but rather than the day-to-day grind of productivity, this is more how do I figure out what to do day-to-day, right? So the way I define this is your next 5 moves are the short-term activities that will get you closer to your long-term mountain or big goal, right? The Neil Gaiman commencement speech, things that move you closer to your mountain are things you want to be focused on, and things that move you away from your mountain are things you don't want to be focusing on. Very simple, right? But worth repeating because we end up doing a lot of things that we think might move us closer to our mountain, closer to that long-term goal, whether it's building a career writing fiction, or it's teaching and coaching others to do the same, or if something, altogether different, doesn't matter. Whatever yours is, I'm guessing because you're here, you probably want to write fiction and do it for a living. If that's your mountain, if that's your big goal, it's not enough to just say that's it. That's my mountain. Let me just do all the things that will get me there. Okay. The reason is it's not enough is it's not specific, and it can actually be too much of a goal. It can be too big. It can be too lofty, ethereal, whatever word you want to use. And that's really, really, really hard on our psyche. I don't want to get into the psychology of it, but it's really hard because we can't hold all that stuff in our head at the same time. We can have that goal in our head. Well, this is my mountain, and I'm very specific about how much money I want to make, and I know how I want to do it. It's going to be writing fiction, but there's no plan to get there, right? It's just this big nebulous thing in the sky. It's literally a mountain. It's right there. So I use this concept of your 5 next moves. Now, you can imagine once you accomplish these things, you need 5 more. So part of this process involves building in time to plan the next 5. But I always have 5 things that I'm working toward. I always have 5 things that are much smaller than my major mountain, than my big goal. They're much, much smaller, but they're stepping stones on the way up that mountain. Okay, now this isn't anything new. You guys have heard this before. But I wanted to get into how I do this and how I approach it because I'm hoping you can glean some insight from it in your own work and get you to the point where you are building these stepping stones 5 at a time. Okay, so before we jump into how, the way, again, to further define these 5 things, I have these 3 musts for each of my 5 things. So if I'm picking 5 goals, let's call them goals for now, or moves, if I'm picking 5 things, they have to be, 1, attainable in a 12-week period. We'll talk about that a little bit later. 12-week period, that's 3 months, right? we'll talk about it. So 12-week period. We'll talk about why. 2, they have to be impactful. This is where those two words, effectiveness and efficient and effectiveness come in. They have to be impactful. They have to have an impact positively on what your ultimate goal toward your mountain. So this is where they have to bring you closer to your mountain. And you need to spend good, hard time making sure these things, these 5 moves, are going to impact your career in a positive way. And I know that sounds very simple, maybe even oversimplified, but it's not. This is where you